Hi, welcome to City at a Glance. I'm your host, David Young, and as you just saw, we have a very exciting topic for this edition of City at a Glance, the USA Pro Challenge, America's Race, which will be here in Fort Collins on August 22nd. Here today to discuss the USA Pro Challenge, we have, as always, our city manager, Darren Atterbury. Darren, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, David. Good to be here.
Thank you. We have Mark Jackson with Planning, Development, and Transportation with the City of Fort Collins. He's also the city's representation on the local operating committee for the USA Pro Challenge. Thanks so much for being here.
You bet. Pleasure.
Along with that, we have Eric Thompson, who is also a member of the local operating committee and helping organize the race this year with the city. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Thank you. And then Chris Johnson is also on the local operating committee working on the communications side with myself. Chris, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
And then Logan Von Vokel is a local rider and racer and former cycling journalist here to help provide some insight on the race itself.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So just to kick off, Darren, we had the race come to Fort Collins 2 years ago. Tell us a little bit about what the race means to Fort Collins and what the Pro Challenge means to Northern Colorado in general.
Well, first of all, David, I think it's a great topic. I'm excited to be talking about this. I think what a privilege it is for Fort Collins and Northern Colorado to have this race here. And let me just say, as we look at, as there's events that happen throughout the community and throughout Northern Colorado, this event, I think, so perfectly matches the DNA of Fort Collins and wanting to promote cycling from a wellness standpoint, from a sports standpoint, for people to come downtown and enjoy their community. So I couldn't be happier about this. I think it's just fantastic. And there's a lot of work that goes into it and a lot of planning and in some cases impacts. And so we'll probably talk about some of those things but what an exciting season for Fort Collins. I'm excited just to hear you guys talk about what's going on. As you said, Mark has been our city representative on the organizing committee, and so instead of me talking about it, I think it's better to hear from these guys and the great work that's going on. But it's fantastic.
Definitely.
Really excited about it.
Well, as you said, Darren, the Fort Collins is a huge cycling community. We love our bicycles here, and this race just fits right in with that. Talking to Mark and Eric here about the local operating committee, what can folks expect this year? What do we have planned for this year when it comes to the race? What are we looking at?
Well, I think what they can expect is an incredibly exciting day. I mean, these are the best of the best bike riders in the whole world. They're coming here to Fort Collins, to Northern Colorado for a day, and this will be broadcast to close to 200 countries all over the world, well over 1 million people watching on television. Thousands and thousands of people will be here live. So it's amazing. I mean, the opportunity to watch elite athletes performing on our world-class stage is pretty neat. And one thing that's unique and really exciting about cycling as a sport is that the fans can literally be inches away from the athletes, right? It doesn't happen in any other sport. Cool. You're not supposed to touch them, but sometimes the fans do. But you can literally be that close to. So to think about guys that a lot of them were recently in France, riding the Tour de France, and now here they are in our backyard. That's pretty cool. And riding roads that some of us as cyclists, we get to ride ourselves, not nearly as fast as they do. And so it's just generally really, really exciting.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mark, from the city's perspective?
Well, the final push of the stage through the Fort Collins area, if you include the Horsetooth Dam loops for the men's stage that come over, it really is. It's an event, and it's as much fun to watch the people, I think, as it is to watch the spectators, as it is to watch the racers. And the final push as they come down off of Overland Trail and in through Fort Collins, in through the Old Town area, it's phenomenal. And the finish is just something. You have to be there. It's pretty amazing to see it.
Yeah, it is very exciting to watch those racers come right through Old Town, right down Mountain Avenue, and just, like you said, be inches away from them. That's an exciting experience for sure.
Yeah.
So Chris and Logan, from the cycling side, can you talk a little bit about, about the cycling aspect of this, and in terms of some of the racers that we may see, or what people can expect when it comes to the cycling aspect of this race?
Yeah, the event is actually, we started with the same event in 2013 where we had the same kind of sponsor cities, sponsored municipalities in Windsor, Loveland, and Fort Collins and Larimer County. Because of the floods that actually were like weeks after the stage in 2013, Estes wasn't available or interested in being involved this time. And so we kind of rejiggered the route a little bit and looked at something that we'd actually been wanting to do all along, which was involve the Buckhorn Canyon and Wrist Canyon, which are, as any cyclist around here knows, kind of the crown jewel of Northern Colorado cycling. So it was, while we were disappointed Estes didn't want to be involved, we were really excited to get to take people up there, both the racers and the spectators, because it's a really significant athletic challenge. The climb up Buckhorn is 20 miles of up and down and up and down, and it ends with, for people that know it, from Stove Prairie to the top of Fort Hill is called the Wall, and it's a section that averages over about 10% for close to a mile. It's just straight arrow, straight up. So that's going to be really exciting to watch. So essentially what we've got is the same first half of the race as 2013, where we start at the ranch in Loveland, do a loop around Windsor that has an actual sprint, intermediate sprint point in Windsor. Then we'll go across Loveland to a second intermediate sprint that'll be in Loveland at the Corn Roast Festival in Loveland. And then when we get to the other side of town, we'll add a Carter Lake loop, which is a new feature for this year as well. That's going to be our first little taste of I think altitude. The first maybe where the break will go, or we'll get some action going on there. Then we go up, and again, instead of going up 34, we go up Masonville and up to Buckhorn, and then a really fast technical descent back down to Bingham Hill area. We'll go over Bingham Hill, and then we'll do a loop of the dams that were so popular last year, come down to Hughes Stadium, go up and over and then down, and then the approach to the finish is similar to 2013 again, with Mulberry, Loomis, Olive, Peterson, and then around Library Park.
Wow.
Definitely. And Logan, you've probably ridden a lot of this, particularly Wrist Canyon. Can you kind of talk a little bit about what these cyclists will be experiencing?
Like Chris said, this is a big win, being able to use Wrist Canyon. And coming up Buckhorn is going to be very difficult. And even local cyclists, those who are based out of Boulder, are treating this stage with a lot of respect and taking the time to come up and pre-ride it and really do their homework on it. Whereas other stages are, they know what they're getting into, but this one's a little bit of an unknown for those who don't know Wrist Canyon. It's extremely difficult. It's a very technical descent. It's very fast. Them having the whole road will be pretty fun to watch those guys come down that. And then of course, going over Bingham Hill twice and the dams, it's going to be a very interesting end to the day.
We should also say that this is the last stage of the race that has any altitude. So this is the last chance for anyone with any GC aspirations. If they were to try to win the overall, they would probably have to be active in this stage, because the Sunday stage in Denver is a flat stage. So
they still go over Lookout Mountain.
They do go over Lookout, you're right.
But it probably won't shift anything. No, it's pretty far from the finish, which is what makes this so interesting, is all of the altitude being so close to the finish. It adds a certain amount to the racing dynamic, where people are going to need to be very attentive coming up Buckhorn and Wrist and the dams. 30 seconds in this race overall can make or break it for the overall win.
So is it bad that I've got to be very attentive from like Mason to Howes kind of thing? I mean, speaking about very attentive, that's a daunting route. And it's, so when we do, and sorry, David, I don't mean to take over here, but when you do the route planning, are all these challenges, I mean, these are critical parts of the route planning, right? What kinds of things do organizers typically, what challenges are they looking for as they're looking at designing the route?
You know, this one is interesting in that it's not a, it's not a flat stage. It's not what you would call, if those who watch the Tour de France are familiar with, the sprint stage, which is essentially everything stays compact. They let a break go. It's kind of a strategic break. They don't think it's going to stick, but then everything comes back together at the end. This one's going to be a little trickier because it's not that, but it's also not a mountaintop finish. If we were finishing up at the top of Buckhorn, then your climbers would be the ones that you would look to if if a TJ was here, or if a Chris Froome, or the guys that win or come high in the GC. Those would be the guys you'd be looking at. Here, you're going to be able to you're going to need to be able to get over those climbs with those front guys, and then keep a break when you're doing the descent. And then, the dams are actually a pretty considerable little, burn right towards the end. So it's going to be a really, we saw on our stage, of course, Peter Sagan, who's now famous for winning his 4th straight green jersey in the Tour de France, was our big winner in 2013 on our stage. And I think somebody like Sagan is a good...
I would pick him again.
Yeah, I think so.
If he were to race, I would say that he would win. And he wouldn't come over Risk Canyon with the leaders.
But he might, right.
But I would tell you that he'd be with them by the time he got down Risk Canyon.
So there'll be some cat and mouse.
Yeah.
There'll be some folks that are the mountain goat types that'll get up to Bingham Hill the first, but then there will be a concerted effort to kind of get them back on the descent and then on the drag race across town.
Yeah.
Well, 2 years ago it was a very close finish. Can we expect the same again this year, would you think?
It'll come down to a sprint of some kind, I would guess. It'll be out of a much smaller group. Last time it was the whole peloton. I would expect it to be a group between 20 and 40 versus 150.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
It's a small group finish.
Definitely. Well, shifting from the racers to the participants, those who will be attending, let's give the residents here a bit of maybe some inside tips, where to watch, how to get around, the best ways to access the race that day. Guys, can you speak a little bit to maybe, max, riding your bike, where to watch, things along those lines for people?
You bet. We really learned a lot with the initial 2013 stage that we hosted in terms of how to move people in, where people want to go, how they want to get here. Yeah. And of course, this time in 2015, we'll have the Max Bus Rapid Transit service, which wasn't quite ready for the 2013 race. So it's proven in a lot of our special events and festivals to be an amazing way to get people into the downtown core area, and they don't have to fuss with parking or worry about any of those types of hassles. We've provided for ample parking for people who do want to drive in with our Civic Center parking structure, and also the Oak Remington surface parking lot will be open. And then we'll have, in addition to Max, we'll have several of our transport regular routes running into the downtown area. Of course, last time there was a huge amount of folks who biked and walked in to the downtown core. And then also, we're really reminding people that downtown isn't the only place that you can watch. There's some really great spectator areas around City Park Lake on Mulberry when they really start hitting their speeds and coming in, and then as they wind their way through the Old Town. There's a lot of places, but again, it's pretty magical at the finish to watch those guys come across at full tilt speed too.
Definitely.
I'd add a couple things. I'll never forget 2 years ago in the finish in Old Town, the energy was electric, so that's a can't miss, and there's some other spots around Old Town to be near the finish. I would say also to people, don't miss the start. The start is a lot of fun, and that's a time to see the racers for a prolonged period of time instead of them just whizzing by really fast. You get to see them warming up, you get to see them interacting with each other, interacting with the fans, getting ready to go. We had a funny story last time. So we had a tent at the start of the race for our VIPs and sponsors, and we were having a few of the racers come into the tent and drink coffee and grab bagels and sit down and visit with some of the people that were inside that tent. So there's an opportunity there to really get close and interact with the racers. We haven't talked about the women's race yet, but that would be another reason to go out to the start to watch the women getting ready. And then I always tell people a really fun place I think to watch the race would be from the reservoir. Right. If you have a boat or know a friend that has a boat, be out there on the boat, and you can kind of drive the boat along as they go by in the dams would be fun, especially given that they're going on there twice. So
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think it's unique to our stage literally our starting line is 14 miles from the finish. So it's actually really easy and really convenient. In fact, we're doing an organized ride. We have a bike parade that will be leaving after the men roll out and just heading straight up to Fort Collins, and it'll get there before the women or the men get there. So we encourage people to jump in, and we're calling it our Pro Challenge Shortcut is the name of that ride. But in general, the course is really compact, and I think it's a unique feature of our stage that you can watch the start of the finish. There's 3 different places where you can see the race come through more than once. There's a juncture at Centera, or right north of Centera at Crossroads Boulevard. They'll come through there from the ranch to there. You'll be able to see them twice. Out at Carter Lake, they'll do a loop that you can see twice, and then of course at Bingham Hill, which we talked about, we'll see the men go through twice and the women go through once. So that's going to be a really, I think, a hot ticket place to watch.
Definitely.
The compactness really helps us, and it'll be good for getting people around. So.
Yeah. Let's touch on that women's race. This is the first year that they've done the women's race. Can you talk a little bit about what that entails, and then kind of the significance of adding that this year and anything that comes along with that?
Yeah, maybe I'll talk a little bit about the significance, and then Chris can talk about the details.
Yeah.
It's a big deal in that the women and men are racing on the same roads. That's the first time that's happened professionally in Colorado since the 1980s. It's a big deal for Northern Colorado that we're hosting one of only 3 stages. So the men race for a week, the women race for 3 days. So we're one of only 3 stages that they have.
Okay.
Like the men, we're the second to the last stage, which makes it really exciting, kind of tactically in the race. They're racing for the same prize money. So there are a lot of really neat, really exciting components of that. So we're proud that the race organizers looked to us and wanted us to be a part of it. Yeah. Maybe Chris can talk about exactly where they're racing.
And to even go back a little further, we owe our involvement in that, I think, to the grassroots women's criterium that we hosted on the first race. That was something that the organizers really thought worked really well, and so that was a big part of the reason that they brought us the idea of hosting the women's race. So like Eric said, it's the same time on the same course. The women will leave about 10 minutes before the men do, but they'll shortcut a couple of sections of it. They'll omit the Windsor Loop, they'll omit Carter Lake, and they won't do a loop around Horsetooth. They'll just come straight in from Bingham, and that's done to minimize the closure time on the road so that they don't have to leave an hour before or 2 hours before. So they leave it pretty close to the same time, and then the women will actually get done because they're cutting 40 miles off the course. They'll get done a couple hours before the men will, and anybody will be able to see, any of those places you'll be able to see the men and the women come through. It's a big deal. It's kind of a pilot program for the race organizers because it's a new sort of technical and logistical challenge in terms of managing those closures and where do you open up traffic between races and where do you keep traffic closed between races, and how do you manage having, what's essentially 2 separate sets of Colorado State Patrol vehicles and race support vehicles and marshals and team cars. So it's a really huge logistical challenge that I think will be a really, we're up for and everybody's up for, and we've been preparing for it for a while, but it'll be a big learning experience for the organizers of the race too, and for us.
Definitely. So once the race is over, the party's not done. There's the festival going on that folks can check out, and then Old Town in general will be open. We're encouraging folks to come downtown before, during, and after. Old Town will be open for business, so definitely come down, check that out. Do you guys want to talk about the festival briefly? What can folks expect to see at the festival?
Music and beer.
What else do you need, right?
Yeah, right.
There'll also be some vendor booths.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the Pro Challenge.
Kind of similar to 2 years ago.
Logo merchandise. I know a lot of the downtown merchants really step up and do a lot of fun things for the day for the extra crowds that are down there too.
Definitely.
I believe Poudre Fire Authority is celebrating their 100th anniversary down there as well, so there'll be some activities to celebrate and honor that.
Which I believe they actually made a custom bike for that.
Yeah, that's right.
Which
Absolutely.
really
saw
cool,
it
a cruiser.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Jeff was riding it yesterday. That's very cool.
That's awesome. Well, lastly, before we run out of time here, how can folks get involved? If people want to actually volunteer, participate, be part of this race more than just going out and watching, what can they do? How can they get involved?
Well, the first thing that comes up for me is sponsorship. So we have some amazing sponsorship opportunities. We've come up with a fun package where it's a partnership with Big Shot Bikes. Okay. Big Shot Bikes is a local company, great story. They make customized single-speed bikes. They're making the trophy for the stage winner. So the stage winner will get a Big Shot single-speed bike that's custom designed, Pro Challenge. They're making a limited number of those bikes that we're giving to sponsors. So anyone interested in sponsorship, they get a bike, they get some VIP experiences, they get some great branding, really a great day, so that they can reach out to me and learn more about that. And then maybe Chris can talk about the volunteer needs that we have and opportunities there.
Yeah, that was one of the really inspiring and exciting things about the 2013 stage was we got more volunteers than we needed. We were doubling up people in some places, and we're really hoping for a repeat of that. And as a way, this is an event that's a celebration for us, but it's also a way to show off Northern Colorado and Fort Collins to the world. And there's 22 countries and millions of people watching.
Yeah.
So it's everybody's opportunity to get out on the street and help us out. We need a lot of volunteers. I think this year it's on the order of 500 or so people that we're looking for. You can sign up through our Facebook, or you can sign up through US Pro Challenge's website. Either one of those will get you the link, and we're well underway, and we're hoping to get some more folks for that.
Awesome. Well, Darren, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, what you asked, maybe what can the community expect? I think, I have some images burned in my mind, experiences from the last race, and that is, I love seeing the adults out having fun, celebrating their community. I love seeing kids watching in on the race, and I have this sort of corny imagery of, perhaps a world-class rider future racer is waiting to be inspired by this race. And so as I walk around the event all day long and look and see the excitement of kids in particular, I just think about which one of these girls or little boys are going to be racing at this level. And I think it's in a community like Fort Collins in Northern Colorado, I think it's highly likely that that's going to happen. And so for me, that's really inspiring. And I mentioned earlier the idea of wellness.
Yes.
And community health. I think, again, the reason why I think this event is so important and so closely tied to our vision and mission as a city is we want a healthy community, and we believe getting out and exercising and riding and playing is a big part of that. So, and then finally, I want to say that I remember a community leader saying to me at the finish line after the race was over, and she looked at me and she said, "How come you didn't tell me this was such a big deal?" and I thought I had. We had done TV shows, we had talked about, we had sent memos, we had done various speaking engagements, things like that. And so I think for people who are watching and they're contemplating whether or not come down and watch this, just remember that community leader saying, "How come you didn't tell me it was like this?" And because you won't be disappointed. I mean, I just think it's a very fun. And even if you're one of those who's in love with Fort Collins, just come down and celebrate with your community. So that's what's on my mind right now, and I'm going to be looking for that next world-class racer in the audience, because I think when we support these kinds of events and gatherings. It's like a little child who visits a fire station. The data will show that actually little kids who've sat on a fire truck or gone to a station, actually they might just be motivated to be a firefighter or a police officer. And so that's how I see it. So you guys, I am so thankful for the work that you've done and the planning and it is no easy task to pull this off. And I just really appreciate that. On behalf of Fort Collins, I just tell you guys thank you so much for your leadership and just the support. So
Definitely.
We're also really excited to be hosting a kickoff party on August 19th. That's going to be in Roland Moore Park. That is going to be a family-focused event where we'll have some live music and a safety town for kids, a talk show where we'll interview some folks from the pro cycling scene that we're really excited about. It's going to be in the evening on August 19th, Wednesday night. So we're hoping folks will come check that out too.
August 19th. Awesome. And for everybody out there who's interested in more information, feel free to go to fcgov.com/pro-challenge, and we have all the information there for you to check out. And now, for the first time ever, we have a new video on the USA Pro Challenge with more information on where to watch the race. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Did you know the Pro Challenge is coming back to Fort Collins on August 22nd? Well, with John and Melanie's help, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to enjoy America's race in 1 minute and 50 seconds. Are you guys ready? Go! First, downtown Fort Collins will be open for business before, during, and after the race. Come down with your family, visit your favorite merchants, or just soak up the party-like atmosphere. There will be plentiful parking at the Civic Center parking structure, or the Oak and Remington parking lot, Or you could just take one of these. There'll be a lot of them around. Or leave them all at home and take Max. For the first time at the Pro Challenge, America's top female athletes will compete in a separate women's race over much of the same course, and for the same prize money. Stage 6 of the race will start at the Larimer County Ranch in Loveland and end in Old Town Fort Collins. But in between, the riders will make their way through Windsor, over to Carter Lake, through Masonville, Buckhorn Canyon, Wrist Canyon, past Bellevue, down Overland Trail, over the Horsetooth Dams, all the way back to Bellevue again to finally finish in Old Town Fort Collins, and woo, makes me tired just saying it. Stake out a hill. It's always a good place to observe the race. Otherwise, all you'll see is this. Stove Prairie Road is a beautiful place to cheer the riders as they exit Buckhorn Canyon and enter Wrist Canyon over this hill. Well, mountain, really. This thing is huge. First rider up this 12% grade is king of the mountain, and they might even slow down enough for you to get a good look at them. You can always observe the race from the Horsetooth Hills, as lots of people did 2 years ago. But remember, it's not legal to park or watch the race from anywhere on the dams. As the racers close in for the finish, they'll come straight down West Mulberry. Fast. Then it's Loomis, to Olive, to Peterson, to the finish on East Mountain. And we're done in 1 minute and 50 seconds. Great job, you two. That was your best time yet.